Κυρίες και κύριοι, καλησπέρα. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us in this panel, which is focused on the international flags and how they address the concept of Greek hospitality segment. Is it still an opportunity? Is it an overload? What is their take on this? What do they think on this? I am very happy and honored to have an amazing lineup of people representing both international brands and people working for international brands. I will start with the lady on my left, Mrs. Thomi Christodoulopoulou from KLC Law Firm. She is the legal mastermind behind every major transaction and every major hospitality project that you might have in mind. I mean, you name it. Behind one and only Estesis, working for Domes Resorts. She was on their project in Portugal, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes,
correct.
Mr. Spanos project.
Mr. Spanos.
He's currently managing a resort, Domes Resort in Lake Algarve.
Perfect. Next to Mrs. Christodoulopoulou is Frank Reul, VP of Business Development from Accor. Frank is among the best people that I know roaming Europe and bringing all of, I think, 40 of Accor's brands to the European continent. Next to Mr. Reul is Vassilis Themelidis from Wyndham. He is the regional director for South and East Europe. Let's say he's used to everything, you name it, from war zones to, to the Italian Riviera. He can develop a business everywhere. And next to him, last on the panel, is Mr. Raul Levis. He just opened, I think, the most luxurious and upscale property in Greece in hospitality. He's the GM of Mandarin Oriental Costa, Navarino. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. It's a true honor, and I truly hope that we can tap into the Greek hospitality sector from your point of view. I will start with the lady first. Thomi, in your consultations with hospitality investors, international operators, how do you see them reacting and positioning themselves in the Greek destination market? Are we still considered an opportunity? Is there a bit of an overload? What's your take?
Thank you, Kostas, for the question. No, we are currently seeing that international chain, not only in Greece, but in Europe in general, are underdeveloped. In fact, following the pandemic, two trends have emerged. One has to do with the Mediterranean resorts and the other with the city hotels. For example, Mediterranean resorts have proven to be resilient, and this led not only the international chain, but institutional investor to invest in Mediterranean resorts. For example, Hyatt, back in 2021, acquired AM Resorts, and this acquisition led in an immediate increase of Hyatt's share in all-inclusive Mediterranean resorts. The same applies for the recent collaboration between Intercontinental and Iberostar. Following this collaboration, Intercontinental has immediate increase also its share in all-inclusive Mediterranean resorts. Marriott, for example, recently announced that they have currently under the flagship 800 hotel within Europe, and they are planning to double that within the next 2 years. So, as you can understand, there is plenty of room for development in this segment. On the other hand, ultra-luxury brands have increased their presence in European cities. We have seen recently their presence not only in Lisbon or Rome, which have completely changed in the last few years, but also in Budapest recently. However, in Athens, we only have Four Seasons, and recently the one and only Estesis in Athens. For sure, there are plenty of projects that are currently under development, not only in Athens, but also in the mainland. So there is no overload in this segment.
Perfect.
My opinion.
Moving on to Vassilis. Vassilis, I think it's common knowledge that the penetration of international flags is quite low in the country. Would you have any idea on what accounts for this? And also, if we were to discuss what value does an international flag bring to an owner, what would that be? I know it's a huge topic, but if we can have a concise answer.
How
I
long
see
did you give me?
Frank is already moving
it-
his head.
Is it like 2.5 minutes for this?
Less.
Less than 2. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm glad to be here in Prodexpo. Yeah, I mean, over the inception of the hotel industry here in Greece, there have been many tries from the major international hotel chains to enter the market, not with great success, I have to admit. But I would say that over the last 6 or 7 years, we see that this traction is changing. If I can give a couple of reasons of why it is changing, so I can give you an answer of why it was not happening before, this would be that, first of all, we have institutional investors coming into the country, and they are bringing together the international brands in order to globally position their properties, and at the same time, they know that they add value in their asset by doing so. So this is one of the first reasons. The other reason is that I think that the international hotel chains, and I think that I can speak for most of them, they understood that they need to have a more flexible approach when they come over here to Greece and they speak to the local hoteliers. To that extent, I think that, for example, offering franchise agreements instead of the rigid management agreements that they used to offer before, it has made a difference among the hoteliers that they still want to keep control of the management and operation of their hotels. Soft branding as well, it has helped a lot because we all know how protective Greek hoteliers are in many cases with regards to the brand name, their own brand name that they have developed over the years. So I think that these are some of the reasons that we see over the last few years the international chains taking traction into the Greek hospitality market. Now, when it comes to the value that the international hotel chains can bring, I would start with visibility, global visibility. The international hotel chains, they have quite strong sales and marketing networks that they can really position every hotel across the globe to all different corners of the globe, from Japan to Argentina, and from Canada over to Australia. And this is a very important factor for someone to consider. Loyalty programs. I know again that all of the hotel brands, they are developing and they are investing heavily into their loyalty programs. And the main reason is that these are direct bookings that the hotels are getting, which means a minimum cost of sales. I am aware of the time. I saw your, the way that you
saw the second
you
time,
glanced
not
at
the
me.
first time,
Yes, I saw that. So technology plays an important role. Individual hotels find it very challenging to follow up with the technology advancements that are happening in the hospitality world. By joining a hospitality brand, it is evident that the hospitality brands, they can take you by the hand and offer you the right technology for the right hotel. For me, the most important, and something that I keep discussing, especially here in Greece, it has to do with human resources and trainings and learning and development. I think that this is a segment that many hotels lack in Greece, and again, they can lean on the brands in order to get expertise both on the human resources and on the learning and development front. At the end of the day, we are a business that it is heavily related to the human factor. Unless we treat them well and unless we develop them, we are going to lose them.
Okay. Moving on to Mr. Levis, let's turn the question. Let's go to Mandarin and see what does the arrival of Mandarin Oriental do when it comes to the Greek hospitality sector. How do you think international luxury brands like Mandarin affect the Greek tourism sector? And a second question, close to that, how do you see the relationship with Greek boutique luxury properties?
Mhm.
Is it something of a synergy? Is it a competition? What do you see there happening?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me here as well. I think the entrance of luxury brands and Mandarin Oriental in the Greek market is a natural step at this time now. I think it will bring synergies and competition to smaller boutique hotels, but I believe that both of them are very positive, meaning that they will continue to enhance for the guest experience and also for the market overall. In terms of market, I can just compare a little bit with Italy. Italy has around 140 virtuoso accredited hotels and resorts. These are normally luxury properties that can use the virtuoso consortia to book. Here in Greece, there are only 40 to 43 at the moment as well. So you can just see the untapped potential for the ultra-luxury market to continue to expand, and we can see this with the One and Only and Four Seasons and other markets that are coming here. So this is very important. Our colleagues already mentioned here as well, but the guests that are fans, literally fans of Mandarin Oriental, interested in coming to Greece. We are the first Mandarin Oriental in Greece, so we have a lot of new customers that not necessarily were coming to Greece or not necessarily knew about Costa Navarino, which is a little bit off the beaten path. It's not the Santorini, Mykonos, Athens route. And they're starting to come here. So it brings a new market that was not so developed. Costa Navarino, especially as a market, is very strong in Europe, England, Germany, Nordic countries. Mandarin Oriental, we can bring as well a lot of Americans and other countries, Middle East as well, to add to that. The second thing, just complementing what my colleague was saying here, in terms of the standards, but I'm not talking about the standards of efficiency of doing a check-in and a check-out, but the human factor. With Mandarin Oriental, we brought over 40 colleagues from another Mandarin Orientals from 10 different properties. And when we merge these with the Greeks that are joining us as well, this cross-pollination of ideas brings so much innovation and allows us to be so much better than we would normally do. So all these oxygen into the market, I think, enhances the quality of what we're offering. The same way, these colleagues, when they finish the seasonal jobs, they are now going to other Mandarin Orientals to train there and then come back with an even richer opportunity to develop and continue to grow, which is so essential, as he was mentioning as well. And the third part is about competition. So is there more competition? Yes. I think the smaller boutique hotels can find their own space there and strive on that. For me, a good example is not actually a Mandarin Oriental, but the Pasalacqua Hotel in Como has 24 rooms and has just been selected as the best hotel in the world by the top 50 hotels in the world. So it does not necessarily need to be a branded hotel. We bring a lot of benefits to this, but there is a space for both of us.
Overrated, on my humble opinion.
Is it?
Okay. Yeah. Moving on to Frank, I was very looking forward to the answer to these questions because you bring the expertise of a person that represents 40 brands across I don't know how many regions in Europe, and the key factor here is across multiple tiers, not only luxury, not only premium, not mid-scale, economy. So what's your take on Greece? If you had to give us your humble opinion on the country and on its hospitality sector, what would be your take?
Well, my humble opinion, I would have to say that my colleagues did an excellent job promoting brands. So maybe I make a little bit of a wider point to start with, because we are at a real estate conference here, and what we in the hospitality are probably really need to learn is, if you see any commercial real estate today, no sector performs as well as the hospitality sector. We are today the best performing commercial real estate sector wherever in Europe. And I think we are not always the best one to promote that. And I see that also on the conference where I expect us to be next year in a big room in the first panel, because we are the leaders in the real estate these days. And where we can see it is that throughout Europe, throughout the many countries I do, we see many, let me say, traditional office investors, shopping center investors, really looking at our sector, which is a true change and which is really very promising. And then you will tell me, Frank, this business is very, goes up and down. And then yesterday morning I had the pleasure to speak in Athens here to a person who is 40 years in the business. And we were going through everything what happened in Greece in the last 40 years. But every time this sector recovered much quicker than any other sector. So we are very blessed to be in a top industry. And we as Accor, we are benefiting from that. Our home world is Europe. We have more than 3,500 properties in Europe. And if you look what we have today in Greece, I think we have 1,300 operating keys and 6,000 in the pipeline. So we are only touching the surface in Greece. But I think overall brands are only touching the surface in Greece. There is so much more opportunity. And we see a real dynamic, in working in different ways. We see a real dynamic working by different type of owners, institutional owners, but also many families engaging with us to see what we can do. And I think there's different reasons for that. Greece has recovered exceptionally well after including Athens, by the way, after the COVID. I think we are 43 points up in RevPAR compared to 2019, which I think is the second best performance in Europe. But there is also, the forecast is also there's a bit of a stabilization in EDR upcoming. That means that people again looking from how do I gain efficiencies? And I think networks like ours, with millions of loyalty and customers in Europe, we can bring business to hotels in Greece. But also our network needs hotel in Greece because customers like to travel here and they would expect us to have a good network in both city and resort hotels. We're doing that in Croatia, we're doing that in Montenegro, we're doing that in Albania, in many other cities. And I must say that we're happy to say that we also have good traction in Greece.
Perfect. So this wraps up the first session of questions. We will move to a second one question each. We have less than 2 minutes each one. I'll start with the lady. Thomi, throughout your engagement with all the big, great projects that you work, and you are in close collaboration with operators, investors, what are the key takes that you think that need to be improved or need to be changed or need to be tackled in the Greek market in order to be more, attractive and efficient?
For sure, there are many areas that need improvements and modernization. Definitely, there will be a need for improvement regarding the permitting license procedure. For example, our competitor. In general, we are compared to our competitors. We are somewhere in the middle. We are faster than Italy and France, but slower than Spain and Portugal.
Okay.
As you can understand, a slower procedure regarding the permitting licensing creates unnecessary obstacles and, in general, an overall negative experience for the investors.
Okay.
Second, another area that needs modernization is for sure the touristic legislation.
Mm-hmm.
For example, although the touristic products have changed over the years, there are specific aspects of the Greek legislation that has not been updated. For example, the time-sharing framework has not been updated since 1987.
Really?
Or, until today, there is no framework regarding the operation of spas within the hotels.
Alήθεια.
Yes.
Wow. Sorry.
Last but not least is the lack of upgraded infrastructure in the islands. And the perfect example of this is Mykonos. The island infrastructure was not built to sustain such a large number of tourists. And this led the authorities to proceed and have frozen the issuance of new building permits.
Okay.
As you can understand, if there will be no upgrade in the infrastructure in the island, this will create an obstacle for the investors.
Okay, that's clear. Okay. Moving on to Vassilis. Vassilis, I will try to visit a client in London next month and try to book in a Wyndham. And I see that you do not pick, let's say, the hotspots in the center of town. What's going on in Mykonos, in Santorini? If we take that example to Greece, do you favor any destination? Do you have a wish list of destinations? Or do you select your locations more carefully than others?
Okay, when it comes to Mykonos and Santorini, definitely we would be interested if we have the right partner to develop a hotel there. That's for sure. These are international tourism destinations. We as Wyndham, we have more than 9,000 hotels across the globe. We would love to have 2 hotels in the most demanded islands in Greece. That's the one thing. Our mission statement as Wyndham Hotel and Resorts is that we make hotel travel possible for all, wherever they go, which means that we are not necessarily picking downtown center destinations or locations within a city. We are also looking after secondary cities within a country. I can give the example of Turkey, for example. I mean, it's a neighborhood country. We have 108 hotels there. Only 20% of them, they are in the major cities of Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir. Same applies in Romania. We have 16 hotels there. In most of the big cities of Romania, we have hotels. In Bucharest, we only have 4 hotels. So generally speaking, our DNA is mid-scale secondary destinations. This is part of our DNA. This is where we believe that hoteliers can make money, to make it simple. And this is our key strategy for the years to come. We have brands that they touch the distinctive segment. We have brands from the economy to the distinctive, but I would say that our power force is in the mid-scale secondary destination.
Okay.
And if I may add, we are looking as well, here in Greece, and because, we are in Greece, and I was listening before about, it was in many of the panels about over-tourism. I think that it is the duty of the hotel chains to try to promote secondary destinations, try to open hotels in areas like, or in cities like Kavala, like Ioannina, like Volos, like Larissa, like Kalamata. And I am sure that we are going to be able, I was listening before to Mrs. Gerekou, that there are destinations within Greece that they really require international attention, and they deserve it.
Thank you.
So, it is part of our strategy specifically for Greece to go after the secondary destination.
That's clear. Same pattern of question to Raul. What's your take as Mandarin Oriental on hot destinations? What's your take on Mykonos? What's your take? Do you examine secondary destinations? Do you focus only on hotspots? There's an announcement for Athens. Anything else?
Yeah, well, Athens is a clear winner, and we're looking forward to having the Ellinikon project here. Mykonos, as many other islands, I think is a question of demand and supply, to be succinct. So Mykonos is a strong brand. There is a strong demand to go to the islands as well. It yields very high rates, so definitely it's a destination that Mandarin Oriental would be interested to go. As he mentioned, we need to find the right projects and the right partners in order to fulfill that with that. And in terms of supply, is a little bit the comments that were also discussed here, in terms of how is the island prepared to receive additional tourists? How are they focusing on that? And I think mostly hotels, luxury properties, try to bring tourists for longer stays. They really try to discover more about Greece and develop on that. So for sure, we would be interested in going to Mykonos. Secondary destinations, I don't know if you consider Costa Navarino a secondary destination or not, but it's something that, we can develop with our brand and partner with a strong brand, which is Costa Navarino, and develop as well.
Okay. And now, Frank,
Um,
as a
Maybe which I would like to focus on, and which the company and my team, we are exceptionally focusing on, is on hotel conversion and hotel upgrades. I think there is a tremendous potential in upgrading existing properties, sometimes derelict properties, because you bring a new property together with the investor to an area, it completely upgrades the area, and also the ESG impact of a reconversion, an upgrade, is way less than a new greenfield development. So for us, it's really criteria. We sign, I think 60% of what we sign these days are conversions. We have the teams to assist the investors to, in the best possible way, upgrade the properties. I think it's very good for the communities. It's very good for ESG, and it also allows us to grow the network in a very efficient manner.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and we are officially on time.
Oh.
Yeah, we did it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very
Thank you
much
for the
for your
invitation.
participation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being
Thank
here.
you.
with us.